back.
Megalopolis recently had its premiere at Cannes to mixed reviews and a 7-minute standing ovation marred by booing. It's been described as an $120 million version of The Room, with some seeing that as fantastic news and others seeing it as a horror beyond comprehension. Coppola has received little love from American distributors, and only a handful of European ones have thus far supported his efforts to release the film. All of which got me thinking about Melville's Moby Dick. Now call me contrarian and let's dive into this whale of an epic. Moby Dick was released in 1851 to mixed and mostly negative reviews, which ultimately scuttled Melville's career as a novelist. He released several books after Dick, but never found the success he'd enjoyed prior to Moby's release. Ultimately, Melville would die with there being zero fanfare for his magnum opus, as it was then out of print and unsupported by any in literary circles in the US or Britain. That is, until a new movement known as the Modernists were to take over control of the status quo. These trailblazers recognized in Moby Dick innovations that made it a book over 50 years ahead of its time, with D.H. Lawrence in particular wishing he'd been the one to write it. Consider this. In addition to narrative prose, Melville used styles and literary devices ranging from songs, poetry, and catalogues to Shakespearean stage directions, soliloquies, and asides. And so Moby Dick would end up re-evaluated and ultimately glorified as a great English language book, and certainly one of the best American books of all time, because it took risks and merged disparate elements to create a novel. This is relevant background because Megalopolis may fall into just such a category for cinema. Consider this report from Vulture. The characters speak in archaic phrases and words, mixing shards of Shakespeare, Ovid, and at one point straight up Latin. Some characters speak in rhyme, others just in high-minded prose that feels like maybe it should be in verse. At one point, Adam Driver does the entire to be or not to be soliloquy from Hamlet. Coppola is breaking rules, mixing styles, and trying to innovate on a large scale, just like Moby Dick. And this has me hyped, because it's very rare nowadays for a filmmaker to try anything new, let alone to take a huge risk with so much money on the line. The reviews out of Cannes have me wondering if the same errors in judgment made about Moby Dick in the 1800s are being repeated in the 21st century. Could Megalopolis be the precursor to a new form of cinema, just as Dick would come to be considered a modernist text released during the Romantic period? If Coppola pulls off a Melville, then many of you watching this now will witness Megalopolis lionized a few decades from now as an avant-garde work of genius. So I would then caution anyone against drawing quick conclusions on a film with such obvious ambition behind it, especially one from such an acclaimed filmmaker like Coppola. You may find yourself on the wrong side of history, and given the internet is forever, you probably should save face now and consider 3 magic words.
I don't know.
If in doubt, shout it out. I don't know if it's any good or not. I need time to let my thoughts settle before commenting. I'll refrain from offering an opinion until I'm certain. I just watched a 3-hour film and should probably give it the respect it deserves by waiting a day before tweeting. Now it probably sounds like I've been paid to say this, but that's not true. My channel is still too small for me to sell out. But one day, baby, one day. I made this video because most films are stale and completely devoid of originality. The cost of making a film is too great for innovation, unlike in literature, and so we simply don't receive exciting movies which regularly challenge prevailing norms. My hope is that everyone will go and see Megalopolis and support the film because Coppola's gamble has the potential to push the medium forward. That is, of course, unless you're eager to continue to watch films which follow the save the cat model of storytelling over and over again till death do you part. I, for one, am very eager to watch anything which breaks free from that tedious mould. Finally, back to the Vulture article, the writer Bill J. Iberi quite rightly finishes his review with the following. I've written elsewhere that I thought he'd, Coppola, lost his mind with Bram Stoker's Dracula, a movie I now consider a masterpiece. And there are wise words worthy of consideration. Artists are, in my opinion, superior to critics, and can be ahead of us in their intelligence, creativity, and understanding of the medium they work to perfect. How else do you think they succeeded where so many other wannabes fail? So I say give up on trying to outsmart Coppola or tear down a dreamer, and lean into the possibility there's a movie coming out this year which exists 2 steps ahead of the masses. It might be brilliant, it might be crap, and it just might take 50 years before we know for certain which it is.
I would say that's that, Mattress Man.